But the 1989 Loma Prieta quake was not the worst to strike San Francisco. The same side effects of liquefaction and fire killed thousands when a much bigger earthquake struck, destroying most of the city by the bay.
Around the turn of the century, San Francisco was actually the premier city on the west coast of the United States.
The city featured luxury hotels and modern high-rise buildings. But in 1906, many came crashing down.
The earthquake occurred about 5:12 in the morning on April 18th. And when it occurred, it essentially occurred without warning.
A loud roar jolted thousands out of their beds. Seconds later, a giant shockwave hit the city, shaking buildings to their foundations. The West Coast's economic and architectural center lay in ruins. At the time, seismology was in its infancy, and the quake's cause was not well understood. We now know the city was caught in the middle of an ancient battle between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates, an infamous war zone called the San Andreas Fault. These mighty slabs of crust are scraping past each other directly beneath San Francisco. When sections become locked together, enormous pressure builds up and is released as a strike-slip earthquake. In 1906, 435 kilometers of the fault ruptured. A magnitude 7.8 quake released 8 times more energy than the 1989 event. The first and fastest waves released by any earthquake are primary or P waves. They act like a sonic boom, shaking the ground and rattling windows. A few seconds behind are the secondary or S waves. These carry most of the earthquake's energy and are the most destructive kind of seismic wave. In San Francisco, the S waves tore huge gashes in the earth and ripped apart building foundations like paper. But it was another side effect of the earthquake that sealed the city's fate. Liquefaction of the ground severed gas and water mains, and San Francisco began to burn. Without a water supply, the fire department stood by helpless as the city burned to the ground.
The descriptions of the fire they actually refer to this as a firestorm. And in a firestorm, the heat is so intense that it actually sucks in air.
The fire raged for 3 days, incinerating 10 square kilometers, destroying more than 28,000 buildings and leaving 250,000 residents homeless. More than 3,000 people were killed. The 1906 event proved that an earthquake's complex side effects can be more devastating than the quake itself. 80 years later, a bigger earthquake crippled a city 45 times larger than San Francisco. The key culprits, a totally different seismic side effect combined with disastrous city planning. But even that quake is dwarfed by a potential mega-quake, an event of enormous power and consequence. The San Francisco earthquakes of 1906 and 1989 showed how reflection and liquefaction can have tragic consequences. In 1985, one of the largest cities in the world was crippled by an earthquake with even stranger and more unpredictable effects. It proved that where you build a city is as important as how you build it. Mexico City is one of the world's largest cities, with a current population of more than 20 million. The metropolis sprawls across a mountain valley in the center of Mexico. It's a city of non-stop activity, its massive population busy day and night. On September 19, 1985, dawn breaks on a typical autumn morning. Millions of people face the new day. Suddenly, the earth begins to writhe and buckle. A magnitude 8 earthquake strikes the city. The epicenter is off Mexico's west coast. It unleashes 6 times more destructive energy than the 1906 San Francisco quake. Hundreds of multi-storied buildings disintegrate into rubble. Thousands of others are severely damaged.
I didn't know what was happening. Your mind is racing 1,000 miles per hour. You don't know if you're already dead.
The city struggles to cope as phone and electricity lines are severed, emergency services overwhelmed, and millions left to fend for themselves. 3 of the city's largest hospitals are severely damaged, adding to the chaos and casualties. One of the most horrific scenes is at the Nuevo León, a 15-story apartment building. Of the 1,800 people who lived here, more than 600 were killed. Cuauhtémoc Abarca is a stunned witness as the Nuevo León falls victim to the earthquake's rage.
I recall it like a nightmare because this huge structure, so solid for us, in those moments it was collapsing, like if it was made of paper, like a model that an invisible hand was pushing down.
Cuauhtémoc and dozens of his neighbors rush to the demolished apartment building and with their bare hands begin a desperate struggle to rescue survivors.
There was a survivor, he was trapped by the debris. We couldn't move the concrete above him. It was so heavy. I was holding the right hand of this man, trying to encourage him. He was complaining, "This is so painful, it hurts." And he died.
The death toll is estimated at anywhere between 9 and 35,000. The true number may never be known. Why was this mighty city victim to such devastation? Mexico City is in the center of the country, hundreds of kilometers away from the earthquake's epicenter. And why were some areas practically annihilated while others were left untouched? For seismologists like Sina Lomnitz, this disaster would change their understanding of seismic waves.
There are various surprising factors that intervened to cause this particular earthquake to be a disaster.
The quake was triggered by movements of the Cocos Plate, which collides with the North American Plate off Mexico's west coast. Unlike the San Andreas Fault, where 2 plates are sliding past each other, Mexico is the scene of a tectonic head-on collision called a subduction zone. Normally, one plate slides smoothly under the other, but when a section becomes stuck, enormous pressure builds up in the rock. On that fateful morning, the pressure finally becomes too much. A section of the Cocos subduction zone rips apart, blasting a massive shockwave of seismic energy towards Mexico at thousands of kilometers per hour. During most earthquakes, the greatest damage occurs close to the epicenter. This one is different. Coastal areas suffer some significant damage. But Mexico City, located 322 kilometers inland, bears the biggest brunt of the earthquake. Bizarrely, most of the city is barely damaged, while small specific areas are almost completely destroyed. Buildings between 6 and 15 stories high suffer the most. Shorter and taller structures in the same block survive virtually unscathed.